don't go far. So what I'd like to do is bring up our previous presenters up here, and we'll do questions. We've got half hour or so set aside for this. So if we could have FSA, someone from FSA, Soil and Water Districts, NRCS, Dr. Woods, if she's still here, I know she answered some questions. And then also as well, if you guys want to come up. What we'll do, because we're still recording this, is I'll give these individuals this mic, and I'll take another mic. So I'll run around and make sure we can get your questions in the mic so we'll hear for the video. So I will give this to Mary. Why don't you take that? And then, awesome. All right, we have everyone. Thank you, guys. Now don't be bashful here in the corner, kind of spread across there. So excellent. I know they all covered a fair amount of information on a lot of different topics, but want to see if anybody has any questions for either one of them specifically or for everyone. So hold on one second. There you go, Sam.
Thank you. I guess you saw me looking over at you, Prince George County.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Tell Joe Gertie Sam Brown said hello.
I will.
And our immediate concern is cover crop. Is
Yes.
that something Joe could talk to me about?
Absolutely.
as
Yeah,
well?
if you
Okay.
reach out to him, cover crops, I think their signups, the deadline is October 30th. So we're getting there
Okay.
for that late planning deadline. So just make sure you reach out to him. I have some of his business cards over there, and I'll be in
Okay.
the office later today with him, so I'll let you know.
Great.
Let him know that you wanted to contact him.
Thanks.
I will say, I think that deadline varies from where you are. So in the
It does.
Valley, I know for us, it's November 5th. So
Yeah.
if there are some folks that are not necessarily in this area, those deadlines might vary a little bit depending on where you're from. Thank you. Questions? Yes, Sam. Hold on. I gotta get my steps in today. Thank you.
Yes, I had a question about how does one obtain a mentor through the small farm outreach program?
So I would say first step is to email me that inquiry,
Okay,
and then I will get your contact information as well as the location of the area that you live in, and not only connect you with that program assistant, but that program assistant may have a producer that, whether you're a beginning farmer or not, that they can link you up with somebody that can work
I
with you
have
as
done
well.
the orientation, and I have met with the assistant,
Okay,
and I guess I'm waiting for the next step.
okay. Just email me that inquiry and I can bring that step back up to the top.
Thank you much.
Not a problem.
Awesome, thank you. And I will go ahead and do a quick plug. So in addition to, mentors, which is phenomenal, through the Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services, along with Farm Bureau, they have a program called Farm Link. And that is a website, if you go to the VDAC's website, actually, Caitlin's got some brochures over here. Basically, this is like a matchmaking service for farmers. So you have older farmers that are looking to retire, they don't have children, they don't want to see their lands turned into development. And then you have, I'd say younger, new beginning farmers who are interested in farming. And basically, they can match each other up and see if it could work out to kind of be more of a transition process. So thank you, Caitlin, for having those brochures over there. But that's another tool in the toolbox. If you are really wanting to farm, but you don't have any land, but you'd like to be able to work with a farmer who's looking to exit the industry, that could be a great opportunity. So, all right. You have a lot of resources up here, so hope you could take advantage of that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I just wanted to ask, for the farm conservation program, aquaculture facilities may not need to use 5 acres of land to operate. In that situation, is there any sort of concession for those who are interested in participating in water management and things like that in aquaculture?
So unfortunately for our program, we do have those sort of hard stipulations of 5 contiguous acres. We've been working, we have a technical advisory committee at the state level where we bring these concerns up, and especially for us covering Chesterfield County, we have a lot of farmers who aren't able to have that 5 contiguous acres, but are creating production on that land. So that is something, we've talked about. We work with our partners. I think NRCS has some, different qualifications so that they don't have as many restrictions as we do for different programs. I'm thinking about like hoop houses and stuff like that, on smaller scale production. But unfortunately for our program, there is that state level that we have to kind of get over. But we've been working, and if you have some concerns and you could write a letter, we'd love to submit that to that technical advisory committee to tell them that people in the community who have less than 5 acres are really interested in participating in our programs.
Mayor, do you want to speak to the NRCS piece on that, or?
What I will say is make sure you connect with your local service center. We do have, with the IR Act that was just passed, we will have the ability to provide financial assistance for some irrigation practices. And so just speak with your local planner within your local service center to determine what those eligibility requirements might be. It doesn't matter, it will not matter how large your operation is or how small, but there are some key questions that you will have to answer to make sure that you are eligible. Yeah.
Very good. Any other questions?
If
Yes.
I may, what county are you in? York? Okay, I'll connect with you to make sure I get you with the right person. Okay.
Thank you. My question is for NRCS and then one for FSA. The question for NRCS, could you provide an example of a conservation innovation technique or something that you all are looking for when you say conservation innovation, because it seems so broad? And then the question I have for FSA, you had mentioned that multiple members of the entity must meet the qualifications. So would you need each person to complete an application for that one farming operation? Or would it just be the one operation? What do we need to provide for you if it's multiple members?
So as far as innovation, and you sort of highlighted the key thing with SIG, it is broad. And so we're looking at what the priority is for that year. And so for this past fiscal year, it was soil health and forestry. So we might look at, oh my goodness, the only thing that's coming to mind right now is like, I know this is an old advancement, but when, why am I drawing a blank? Like the, oh my gosh, it just, as you were talking, it was there, now it's gone. Like with improving soil health, we have the root plants. Why am I drawing a blank? Gosh. But basically, with innovation, again, we're looking at ways to improve upon something that we've already been doing. So for soil health, if we've implemented cover crop to break up the soil, or if we've done like minimal till to break up that crusting, like what additional practices can we do that will help benefit the land, that will help improve soil health, that will help improve that organic matter, while also reducing soil loss, soil runoff, nutrient loss, things of that nature. I'm drawing a blank right now, but I promise I'll come back to you. The example I had, it just went, yeah.
Is it true that individuals themselves don't apply for SIG? It's more of the organization that then works with the farmers?
Work with partners, yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes.
Gotcha.
Yep.
All right, you had an FSA question, didn't you? Yeah.
Great. So if you were applying for an FSA loan as an entity, we do require loan applications be in the name of the operator of the farm. So if that's how you're operating the farm, that's how we would need the application. If you're operating it as an individual or as husband and wife, we would just need to match and be consistent. But if you are applying as an entity, we would look at the entity plus all the members of it. If it's one member, if it's two members, if it's 5 members, we would get financials on all the members tax returns, credit reports, and kind of take that all into consideration. So does that cover what you, okay.
Sam, did you have another question or over here? Oh, Caitlin. There you go.
Hi, thank y'all again for being here. Caitlin Jordan with the Virginia Farm Bureau. I have a question for the Soil and Water Conservation District. Something that I've seen, I have signed up for all of these different listservs just to make sure that I'm getting all the information to help our members. But if there is a member who is interested in signing up for a conservation practice through the cost share program for 2024, is there a deadline that they need to have to talk to you in 2023, or is it just, can they do it rolling throughout?
A lot of the practices are rolling, but a lot of our crop practices that need to be planted at a specific date, those do have deadlines, and unfortunately, they do vary between every district. Each district has their own amount of funding. Some districts fly through that funding much quicker than other districts, so it really just depends, but just connecting those people with their local soil and water district is the best first step.
Okay.
I can only speak for Dinwiddie and Petersburg. Our deadline is our initial deadline is the day after Labor Day, and then we'll do an initial application process for that, and then our second deadline is the first Monday in October. We have had lots of new producers this year, so we went through our money like that, and we're already looking for other districts that want to get rid of some money and we need it. So yeah, there's always the option of tax credits, but as far as actual cash, yeah, it's pretty hard and fast, at least with us. We go on the state fiscal year, so July 1, we're up and rolling.
Good deal. Any other questions? Oh, yes. Thank you guys for coming. You all were in Culpeper too, weren't you?
Yeah, we were.
Good to see you.
So I have two questions for the FSA. One was, you mentioned that keeping records of farm progress is important. What kind of records should be kept? Like, since you were saying to have it way in advance, what type of records should be kept, and are there any records that are commonly overlooked in that process?
So in real general terms, we say like production and financial records. So production, when you think about row crop, we're kind of thinking about yields. Well, I had 100 acres of corn this year, and I yielded 150 bushels to the acre. Now, if you're smaller scale, say like greenhouse, vegetable, flower, something like that, get it as detailed as you can, but at the very least, if it's, well, I sold $500 this week in cut flowers, or I went to a farmer's market and sold $1,000 in vegetables this day. That can kind of lead to your production and financial. And then on the financial side, we're looking at income, but also expenses. What did you have to pay out in labor, seed, fuel, anything like that, to start building that history and support those numbers when you put together a business plan or a loan application, to be able to show that, hey, this is what it costs me to grow my product, and this is what I can sell it for.
Okay. And then my other question was, you mentioned a borrower training program. Was that you? Okay. Mm-hmm. So can somebody apply for that before they're applying for a loan, or do you have to actually apply for the loan to go to that program?
Yeah, the particular training program I mentioned, and it's not, FSA doesn't host the program. We work with vendors who have been certified to give the programs, and that is a condition after a loan is approved. Most of them, like VSU is one, it's a group that used to be with Penn State University. We have a list of approved vendors. Likely anybody could register for them and take them at any time, but it wouldn't become a requirement on our end until a loan was approved. And then you usually have 2 years to complete that class. And that's something we would have to consider in any future loan request. Say if we required you to take the course and you didn't follow through, we might have an issue with doing any future loans.
So if somebody has already taken
taken that program and that is a requirement, do they have to take it again through you all's program?
I-
Or is it already certified?
Yeah, I wouldn't want to make any promises, but typically, if you could show that you've already taken one of those courses, when a loan officer is looking at the application, they would probably weigh that into, well, this person already took the training, they passed it, is it really worthwhile for them to take it again? So that would depend on each application and situation.
Okay. And then I had one question for the soil and water conservation program. So could you all explain what cost share is? Because I don't know what that is.
Well, so it's you all have to pay the initial cost, whatever, let's just say cover crop. If you're gonna plant cover crop, you've gotta pay the cost of the seed, you've gotta pay the labor, you've gotta pay the fuel, you've gotta pay for all that. And if we've got different deadlines that we have, so if you plant it by a certain date, then it's early and you get an incentive for that. And if you plant rye, you get an incentive for that. And if you do all of the required deadlines for cover crop, it's $90 an acre. But you have to upfront all that money and then you get reimbursed at the end of our fiscal year.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, I guess I should have clarified that, because I think in the ag world, we just say cost share as if everybody knows what it is. But basically, it's the way that farmers and the government can work hand in hand together to administer conservation. And like you said, unfortunately, most of the time you have to put the money out up front, then it's a reimbursement, which can be a challenge sometimes. Chris just mentioned, and DEQ is not an agency in my secretariat, but they have a ABMP loan program too, or cost share program.
Yeah, it's so everybody wants free money, right? So a lot of what we used to do was stream side fence outs before it was 100% on the cost share. But if there is a conservation program that you're looking to do, let's say was cost shared 75%, 25% that you had to pay the 25%. There is an ag BMP loan program available through DEQ. I think Soil and Water helps to administer and get that started. The Farm Credit System's actually the ones that do the underwriting on it for DEQ. But that program is out there. I think stream side fence outs is one thing that came to mind. Chemical and fertilizer storage, I know I've seen those type of facilities done. I've seen some no-till drills done, I think, for the first time that you're putting that into your conservation plan as well. So Soil and Water can give you more information, but it is 0% money for that side of it.
That's certainly a nice benefit when these projects are pretty expensive. Yes, sir.
Can I add something real quick?
Yes.
So one thing that I want to say about the cost share program to any new producers or new producers to these cost share programs, please work with the individuals that are extending these cost share or distributing these cost share programs, and make sure that all of your paperwork is signed before you start that practice. Because sometimes, and this happened to me, that's why I advocate for it, but it's not Soil and Water's fault, and I'm not in your location. But if you do all the work before you sign all the paperwork and say that deadline is passed, that money is already allocated for, so you've initiated the practice, but you won't get that cost share assistance. So make sure we do good business as producers and fill out all the paperwork, get everything signed before you implement that practice.
That also applies for NRCS as well, so just keep that in mind. Cost share, I will add one of popular practices for new beginning farmers or urban ag producers is high tunnel. And so if you, I don't know if I should be mentioning this now.
Get started. So go ahead.
Gosh darn it. Well, we were talking about cost share and making sure that we have things documented before we move forward. So within our policy, within our CS, individuals within who self-identify within a certain group are socially disadvantaged. Producers have an opportunity to, I should not have brought this up. Have an opportunity to request part of the funding for the high tunnel in advance. So it's called an advance payment. And so with that, we have a number of producers, and your local planner will mention this to you, but I guess it is important for me to say this because I see it a lot. It is important to understand the requirements of that advance payment, is that your practice has to be completed within 90 days. And so we have customers who sign up and they want to receive funding. It's like, hey, you know, I have this high tunnel. I've, you know, got the information from the manufacturer. I'm ready to move forward. And then they request the funds at that time. And so as soon as you request those funds, that's when the clock starts ticking. And so it might take you 30 days, 60 days to get that high tunnel. And you got a short turnaround. And we know life happens, labor, kids, emergencies, things of that nature. And so you're really bound by that contract, that agreement to get things implemented within that certain amount of time. So just keep that in mind. Developing these relationships, having these conversations, staying in contact with your planner is very key so we know what's going on, so that we know that we're helping you do things in a timely manner so that you will remain in compliance. Okay.
Thank you.
Sir.
Yeah, the question that I had is sort of for soil and water, but it kind of impacts like Farm Bureau a little bit. Because a few years ago, we put in a fence exclusion and water exclusion system, and it was well up into the 6 digits amount when we put it in. But then because I worked in Northern Virginia and the farm was near Charlottesville, I couldn't get anybody to insure it because they wanted to tie it to my house insurance. And it seemed that like Farm Bureau or somebody ought to be available if they coordinated with soil and water to enable me to get insurance on that system so that I'm not holding the entire risk of if the system goes down or something like that, that it's not insured, because even to this day I'm still uninsured because I haven't been able to do anything with Farm Bureau. So I wondered if there's ever been any consideration for getting, say, Farm Bureau and soil and water to talk to each other and figure out a way for their insurance to do that. And I think it's probably a new issue.
Mm-hmm. You're saying because your home and your farm were several hundred miles apart, then you couldn't insure?
It made it difficult.
Yeah.
And there must be a way to do it without forcing me to discontinue the insurance on the home that might be at a better rate than what Farm Bureau can offer on the home. But I should be able to get the farm insurance, it would seem, but it never made sense to me.
Well, I do want to say I am with the Governmental Relations Department with the Federation, so I do not work directly with our insurance side. Farm Bureau is broken up into different agencies and different companies. So I'd spoken with this gentleman earlier, and he had mentioned that you were working with someone. You were working with your local farm.
Basically, I'm working with the Farm Bureau in the county where I'm at, but if it turns out, you know, that in order to get the Farm Bureau insurance, I actually have to raise my home insurance rates because maybe my current company is more competitive than Farm Bureau, then I'm still stuck with having to pay more for my house insurance so I can get farm insurance, and it doesn't seem to really make a lot of sense.
Sure, I can definitely pass that along to our insurance people at the West Creek location in Richmond. That's where I'm based.
Because if they could coordinate with soil and water and, you know, come up with some way so that you guys certify that, hey, it meets all the conservation requirements and this, that, and the other, then it would make it easier for somebody in a similar situation to insure the practice once you've put it in place. And now suddenly you're into the 6-figure risk of if something happens, now what are you going to do?
Gotcha. Thank you.
Oh, here you go.
Oop, I'll give that one there. Thank you. And we got a question back here.
Hopefully this is an easy one for Mary Ann. Are there size constraints on a hoop house or high tunnel building? You know, how wide, how long? Sorry, didn't mean to do that to you.
I just recently had my height tunnel done through CRS, and my contact person came out, looked at my land, chose the spot where the height tunnel should go. Now, for me, I'm a small farmer. I have multiple acres, but I'm only farming on 1 acre.
Okay.
But we produce a lot of produce and flowers because we are organic farmers. And just in that 1 acre, I was approved for a 30 by 48 high tunnel. So they have to come out, look at where the best place it is for the high tunnel. And depending on how large that area is will depend on the size of the high tunnel.
Okay.
So that will be in coordination with your contact person in your region that
Okay.
determines the size of the high tunnel.
I can also answer that.
Thank you.
I think we just found ourselves a new NRCS employee.
I'm sure he would make an excellent employee. So I'm the outreach coordinator for NRCS, but I used to work in the field office. There used to be caps on the size of a high tunnel, but I don't believe there are anymore. But it's based off of what's currently in production. So you can't have the high tunnel bigger than the area that's currently in production, if that makes sense.
I'll say too, in a previous life, I was a farmer that did agritourism. You pick pumpkins and hay rides and corn mazes, the whole 9 yards. And so I'm not endorsing any company, and I'm not speaking in that role, but I will say from a past life, we went through Farm Bureau, and they have different companies that they subcontract with to provide that. I guess my one takeaway would be make sure you have liability insurance, because if you're going to be inviting people into your land to do anything, you don't want to be in a position where you don't have coverage. And I think there's a couple, maybe you know, Caitlin, I think there's at least 2 liability insurance companies out there that specialize in agritourism. There might be others, but it's a little bit pricey. But again, if you're bringing people on your land, you want to make sure you're covered. So.
I'd like to add just a little bit to that. You were talking about children. We just had our farm day last Friday, and we invited all of the second graders in Dinwiddie County, so it was 350 plus children. That we do have to make sure that the landowner has liability insurance. We are blanketed under a state policy, but when we have events like that, we have to make sure that the landowner has their own policy.
Very good. Any other questions? Yes, let me get to you here.
I was just going to add that I manage a community space where we have children that come from the community center, and we have Farm Bureau insurance, and it's really great. It covers everything. We have bees and everything, and we had an issue with, some stuff going on, but the insurance is really great through Farm Bureau. Yeah.
Anything else? So let's give these folks oh, I'm sorry.
I just want to see you get your steps into that. I know it's important. How important is it for a new farmer to have a farm ID number through FSA? Suppose an accident or a disaster or that sort of thing happens.
Might want to give this one to Stephanie because I handle farm loans. That's a little bit out of my wheelhouse. Do you?
So in order to participate in any USDA program, you have to have a farm number. It's very easy to do. You come into your local farm service office, you bring a copy of your property deed and your social security number, or either your EIN number, which is essentially your social security number for your business. We have a couple of forms that you fill out. And then your local office will create a farm number for you. They will also create a farm map for you. Once you have that farm number, then you can participate with programs with any USDA agencies. So FSA, NRCS, Rural Development, Risk Management Agency, but that really is one of your first steps, is once you have your land, to obtain a farm number. Now, if you do not own your land, you still need a farm number. So you go into your local FSA office, and it's important to have a cash lease agreement with the landowner, which is a very simple document. It doesn't have to be made very complicated. Just a simple agreement that I, Stephanie Pope, give Samantha Blair permission to farm my land, farm number 123 for the 2024 crop year. Landowner signs it, the operator signs it, and you turn it in to your local FSA office, and that's it.
Very good. Nicely done. Any other questions? Whew, what a lot of information. Let's give these 5 a great big hand. Thank you all. Thank you all very much. You're released. You can go sit down now. So thank you. As we kind of wrap up here, a couple of things. We're going to do a drawing here in a second for a gift basket. So let's go ahead and, am I the drawer? So I think you all wrote your name on a piece of paper when you came in. Is that right? All right. It's a really nice basket of Virginia's finest products through our Department of Agriculture. Must be present to win, right? Yes. All right. And the winner goes to Nicole Harrison. Yes. All right, congratulations. Awesome. So on your way out, make sure you stop and get this nice basket.